Thank you. So this is a hearing of the Vehicle for Hire Appeal Board in the matter of Mr. Arshdeep Singh, who I understand is present in the committee room.
That's correct, yes. So
And I understand we need a motion to for the three panel members to participate remotely.
that is correct, yes. So if Amanda or Adila would like to move that motion, that'd be fantastic. You're both muted, sorry.
What would be the wording? Just that we can participate remotely?
That's correct.
I move that, I'm sorry, what was your name? Adelia?
Adila.
Adila? I move that Amanda Kozak and Adila Del Oro can participate remotely to this hearing.
And me, the chair.
And Dean Scaletta.
So Adila, do you second?
I do.
Okay. And all in favor? The motion is passed.
Perfect. And then also, Mr. Chair, I need somebody to move the minutes from the meeting last held on September the 8th, 2023.
Okay.
I
Ms.
moved. Oh, sorry.
Laurel and Ms. Kozak, do you second? Yeah. Yes. Okay. All in favor? Okay. That motion is passed.
So, Mr. Chairperson, now for everybody involved, I will just go over the process. The process the appeal board will follow is the Winnipeg Public Service will provide an explanation of their decision and may address questions asked by the appeal board. Next, the appellant makes representation regarding the appeal and answers any questions raised by the appeal board. The Winnipeg Public Service may address comments made and questions asked by the appellant and the appeal board. Finally, the appellant may return to speak in rebuttal to comments made. However, no new information is permitted. Please note that when your name is called, it is your opportunity to speak. However, you are not obligated to do so. As information, all appeal hearings are recorded, and any submissions made to the appeal board will become part of the public record. Appeal number 1, the only appeal on our agenda today, is an appeal under the Vehicles for Hire bylaw number 129 of 2017 regarding license number VFHD-04161. And at this time, I'll hand it over to the Public Service to give us an overview of this matter.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning, Mr. Chair, appeal board members. My name is Grant Heather. I'm the manager of Vehicles for Hire and the designated employee under the Vehicle for Hire bylaw. With me today is Mike Sheriko, the coordinator of enforcement and investigations, and Ravit Sharma, who's a VFH enforcement officer, who was part of the investigation as he completed the telephone conversation translations based on the camera footage audio. We have submitted a copy of the investigation report and trip record information, as well as the decision letter as evidence. They have been redacted in order to protect the identity and any identifying information about the passenger as she was underage. We received this complaint from the WPS, Winnipeg Police Service. They had received a complaint through their channels, reviewed it. However, as far as we know, they were unable to pursue a criminal investigation. However, they felt that it did merit further review, and due to the nature of the allegations, needed to be reviewed by Vehicle for Hire. Following standard procedure, Vehicle for Hire obtained the in-taxi camera footage in order to preserve this for WPS. Who was also provided a copy. Further, Vehicle for Hire enforcement then opened an investigation into the incident. Mike Sheriko, coordinator of enforcement, will take you through the investigation report, which I mentioned you have been provided a copy of. Mike will also be showing, as part of the investigation report, there is the in-camera taxi footage, which forms a substantial part of the investigation. After we complete that, I will circle back and provide some rationale regarding the decision and the findings that you'll find in the decision letter before you. So with that, I will turn it over. Mike will read the investigation, and then we'll want to go into review the video.
Good to go?
Yep.
Good morning, Mr. Chairperson, board members. I'm going to summarize the investigation and summarize the audio from the footage and the video, of course, as well. I'll stop at each point where there's a translated portion and read the translated portion at that point in time. The incident on February 8th, 2024, Vehicle for Hire Enforcement received a request for a download from the Winnipeg Police Service. The download was for an incident that occurred on February 1st, 2024, concerning an alleged sexual assault of an underage female passenger by a taxi driver. The particulars: WPS stated that an underage female passenger reported that the driver of Duffy's taxi, taxi number 469, had kissed or attempted to kiss her while she was a passenger in the taxi. The incident reportedly occurred on February 1st, 2024, between the early morning hours of 2:40 and 3:50 a.m. Due to the nature of the allegations, VFH Enforcement proceeded with an investigation separate from WPS. The investigation. On February 8th, 2024, VFH Enforcement received a request for a download from the Winnipeg Police Service. Duffy's taxi 469 was identified as the taxi involved in the incident, and VFH Enforcement called the taxi in for a camera download on this date. Taxi camera footage was retrieved and securely filed. Trip records were also requested from Duffy's taxi for the incident date and time. The records confirmed the trip and identified Arshdeep Singh as the driver of taxi 469. Mr. Singh's identification was confirmed through camera footage as well as his taxi cab and Manitoba driver's license on file. VFH Enforcement viewed the footage in order to confirm the incident and alleged assault. The following is a summary of the incident as reported by the taxi camera audio and video. At approximately 2:52 a.m., a female passenger enters the taxi and sits in the back seat. She states she only has $30 and offers the driver $25 for a return trip. The driver agrees to the fare and states it's only for you, and proceeds to the passenger's requested destination. And that's in the trip records, which will not disclose. The passenger needs to attend this location to get her phone that was left at a home at this location. The driver asks her where she lives, and she replies with her address, which is the pickup address, which matches the pickup address on the trip records. The driver also asks her name and age. She replies with her name and that she is 20 years old. Once at the destination, the passenger asks the driver to call 911, as one of the occupants in the home may try to physically assault her. The driver makes a call to someone and speaks in Punjabi. This is translated conversation number 1. Driver called his friend and asked for the procedure for the 911 call. Driver got advice from his friend related to the police call. The friend advised him to give his phone to the girl for the 911 call. Driver did not want to stay for that long, but he decided to give his phone to the girl for the call. Driver agrees to call 911 on her behalf. As she stated, the person in the house was physical with her and she is underage. The female passenger talks with a 911 operator and explains the situation and her fears of going into the house. She states she is under the influence and the person in the house was getting physical with her previously. Her boyfriend left her there, but now she wants to retrieve her phone. The 911 operator assesses the situation and determines that she is not in immediate danger. She is safe. So she needs to call the WPS non-emergency line to report the incident. The driver proceeds to call the non-emergency line and is put on hold. The driver ends the non-emergency call prior to speaking to someone. He makes another call to someone and speaks in Punjabi. This is call number 2. Second conversation. Driver called his friend again and asked for advice. Driver was so upset because the trip took so long due to police call. He asked his friend if there's any way to inform police because driver wanted to just move on to the next trip. caller friend told him to not get involved in any personal matter and take the stress. He advised taxi driver they should just tell the customer he cannot help her anymore and she needs to call police in the morning. The passenger exits the taxi to go through the house to attempt to get her phone. She requests that the driver call 911 to call the police if something happens. The driver makes another call to someone, speaks in Punjabi. This is conversation number 3. Driver called his friend and commented on her beauty. He mentioned that the girl is very beautiful and he wants to help her at this time. The passenger returns to the taxi to ask which house number is the one she's looking for. The driver pulls up to the house. Passenger exits the taxi again to go to the house. The driver makes another call to someone and speaks in Punjabi. This is translated call number 4. Call 4, driver called his friend and complained about the waiting time. Driver was so upset because he wanted to go. Driver said the trip is only for 10 kilometers round trip. Passenger only gave him $25. What about the waiting time? Driver was very upset but his friend advised him to wait. He also mentioned that if the driver could have that girl for sex, and then waiting time would be worth it for him. Driver asked if he can help the girl to find her phone from the apartment, but his friend stopped him from doing anything and educated him about Canadian law. Driver seems so upset, frustrated because he wants to go home, but he's stuck with the passenger. Driver repeated everything all over again to his friend and mentioned that he was going to ask the girl to have sex with him, and right after he offered his iPhone 8 with the intention of having sex with the girl. Passenger returns to the taxi as she's unsure of the address. The driver makes a comment concerning losing trips as a result of the time it's taking to find her phone. The passenger then asks the driver if he has the Find My Phone app on his phone. He says she can come to the front seat to use the app to find her phone. At this point, she enters the front seat of the taxi. She uses the driver's phone to find hers. She states the app shows her the phone is nearby. They try to determine where the phone is exactly. The driver has another call to someone who speaks in Punjabi. This is translated call number 5. Call 5 and 6 appear to run into each other. They may not be separate calls or a disconnect. Driver made a call to his friend again and asked him about this location. Driver asked him for his home keys. She exits the taxi to approach another house. She returns unable to find her phone. The driver offers her an iPhone 8. At this point, replacement calls the driver's phone. The caller advises her to call her group home. The driver requests her to do so he does not lose his job from Duffy's. He also states that this is taking too long. She then requests him to drive her home, and she apologizes. The driver offers her some Timbits as he drives off. She asks about the iPhone 8 and if she can still borrow it. She asks about the iPhone 8 and if she can still borrow it. The driver states it is at his home. She asks if they can go and get it now. The driver says he will give her the phone tomorrow. The driver then asks if she has a boyfriend. The passenger states no. The driver then asks her if he can ask her something. She agrees. He then says, "Do you know what I mean? Can I kiss you?" he asks. She does not appear to say no. At this point, it appears she leans over and they kiss. The driver asks her if they can go to his friend's home. The driver calls his friend, speaks in Punjabi, call number 6. Friends ask driver if she is calm, quiet type of girl. Driver says yes, and mentioned that she seems to be good and beautiful. She asks if they are going to chill there, and then she asks if he will take her home. The driver agrees to take her home after they go to his friend's place. They agree to contact each other tomorrow to make arrangements to get the new phone to her. Shortly after, Duffy's dispatch calls the driver to inquire about the passenger from the pickup address. The driver explains the situation regarding her wanting to retrieve her phone from the destination address. The passenger then directs the driver to take her home so she can go to sleep. The driver then speaks to someone in Punjabi. This is translated call number 7. Driver said he's going to drop the passenger off at her home and said he feels tired as well. The driver discusses taking her home, but just wants 2 minutes. It's up to her. She says she wants to go home. The driver agrees to take her home and bring her the phone to him. The driver again refers to the time it's taking and that he has lost trips. The driver then speaks to someone in Punjabi again, translated call number 8. 8th conversation, friend called the taxi driver and asked him how long before he arrived at the fuel station to fuel up his taxi. Taxi driver admit that he touched her body parts, lap and breast, and covered the camera before doing anything. Caller advised him to offer $5 for another kiss or a little extra if she agrees to have sex, and asked him if he's going to call her in the morning. The driver said he needs to give her the iPhone as a gift, which will be expensive. Taxi driver said today was not his day, so the girl was not in his destiny, and then he changed the topic to normal conversation. Taxi driver mentioned that Duffy's dispatch called him at the wrong time, and this call might have changed the girl's mood. Driver requests her Facebook profile information, to which she agrees. The passenger agrees to give the driver her auntie's number so he can reach her. The passenger requests he call her in the morning. As the trip is concluding, the driver requests the last kiss. The driver appears to cover the camera during this interaction, and then the passenger exits the taxi. As a result of the incidents and the previous hearing, Vehicle for Hire has issued penalty notice and found Mr. Singh to be in violation of Section 46(3)(a) of the Vehicle for Hire bylaw. By taking advantage of a vulnerable underage female passenger, Mr. Singh is in violation of this section. The driver of the Vehicle for Hire must, in accordance with the Code of Conduct, maintain a high level of decorum and refrain from conduct that may reasonably be considered to be inappropriate or unbecoming for a service provider in the Vehicle for Hire industry. Without limitation, the driver must not sexually harass a passenger or make lewd remarks to a passenger. And by not operating the meter during the trip, Mr. Singh is in violation of Section 57(3), negotiated taxi fares. Unless the transportation service is subject to a fixed fare under the fare schedule, in order to ensure that an agreed fare is not higher than the fare schedule, the driver must ensure that the taxi meter is operating while the transportation service is being provided. If the agreed fare is higher than the fare shown on the meter at the termination of the trip, driver must charge the fare shown on the meter. And by covering the camera or tampering with the view in order to hide the activity between the driver and the passenger, Mr. Singh's in violation of Section 60.1. Taxi driver must ensure camera is operational. The taxi driver must ensure that the in-vehicle camera required by subclass 38(1)(g)(2) is operating as intended and that has not been tampered with. And before we move to the footage, in closing, I'll mention that Duffy's has suspended the driver. He was suspended as of February 1st, has not driven since. And it was due to a Child and Family Services call to the manager of Duffy's taxi. The manager did not find the driver to be truthful, so they suspended him immediately. That concludes the summary of the investigation, and we can move to the footage if everybody's in agreement.
And I'll ask you to make a motion.
At this point, no. We just turn off the live stream.
Okay.
Yeah. So if that's the will of the committee, if there's no questions at this point, then we'll queue up a video for your viewing pleasure.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Live.
Okay, so Mr. Heather, you had a few closing remarks.
Yeah, just further to the video to kind of put a few things in context with the decision letter. So even though the passenger initially lied about her age, There would have been no reason for him to ask that question, looking for that information, as well as asking about whether she had a boyfriend or not, and any other personal information. It's far outside of the bounds of what a vehicle for hire driver should be asking, and also contrary to the bylaw. Further, when she asked him to call 911, she did indicate that she was intoxicated and underage, and that can be heard on the video. I look and I listen in the video and find that the offer of an iPhone 8 is not a normal thing for a driver to be offering to a passenger. So it's an expensive item, and so there was obviously, in my opinion, as decision maker here, there was looking for something along the lines of quid pro quo, trade that for something else. I also question, and it's in the decision letter on page 3, when I questioned Mr. Singh during the hearing about the trade and that he was looking for more, and that he felt that she knew what she was doing. In that, I assert that this is a bit of a defense mechanism for her, and that based on her age, which we now know, as well as her background, that this may be something that needs to be factored and considered. And so with that, looking at what the decision outcome was, typically I look at having a range of about 10 years for a suspension, as the bylaw has a 10-year look back on criminal convictions and major driving offenses. So I kind of use that as the scale. The scale would then move up or down based on the nature of the offense, the violence of it, if there is any history or repetitive nature of the driver, and the offense, or as the license holder, as well as any aggravating and mitigating factors that may play into this. In my experience, this incident would fall at the lower end of the scale, comparatively to other offenses that may occur. However, the fact that a vulnerable person was taken advantage of, and in all reasonableness, more than likely, more would have happened had it not been for the phone calls that were received, after which she requested to be taken home. One thing we take a hard stance against is that vehicles for hire should not be used as dating services. And so that's a line we draw in the sand from a standpoint of good decorum. With that, I think we'll close and allow Mr. Singh to provide you his evidence, unless you have any questions.
How long had he been licensed as a taxi driver when this incident occurred?
At the time that this occurred, Mr. Singh held a provisional license. And what that means is essentially drivers are able to obtain almost like a learner's permit, a learning license, while they're doing their taxi driver training school. And so he was he'd maybe only been a taxi driver for less than a month at this time.
Yeah, that was my impression from the materials.
And was there any violations with respect to him taking passenger at a certain time of day or anything in accordance with the provisional license, or is?
No, those licenses are unrestricted. We leave it up to the dispatcher to set their rules, and that's part of the expectation is that while the driver's on a provisional license, they are signed up or attending their taxi driver training classes. They're able to work at that time, as well as receiving some guidance and training from the dispatch company or a senior driver that they're working with.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any prerequisites required to obtain a provisional license?
Drivers are still required to provide their required background check. So that's a criminal record check, driver's abstract, child abuse registry, all those would have to come up in compliance with the bylaw. So there's no relevant criminal offenses or major driving offenses on them. Mr. Singh is not registered on the child abuse registry, as well as providing all their documentation. Prior to the creation of provisional licenses, taxi drivers would have to provide all their documentation as well as taking their taxi driver training course. So they would have to complete it in order to, looking at the situation and looking at the landscape of the industry, as well as balancing taxi service versus ride sharing and limo service and the requirements on both sides. We created this provisional license to allow drivers to get experience while they were doing their training. And for the most part, it's worked out very well. This would be an odd case to that.
And then do we know at the time of the incident, had he already begun taking his classes or not yet?
That I don't know. It would be a question for him. I could find out, but at my fingertips, I don't have that.
He did state he wasn't finished his classes at the time of the incident.
Thank you.
On the provisional license, we give them up to 90 days. So they're basically allowed to hold a license for up to 90 days. They have to be registered for the courses. A lot of it has to do with timing of the school division. The training is delivered by a third party. And because of timing, because of classes and that's why there could be a little bit of time. But part of the qualification of getting that license is that they have to be registered and paid for it.
Thank you.
Okay, can we move on then to Mr. Singh's presentation?
Absolutely. Mr. Singh, if you just want to grab a seat there at the end of the table. Yes, please. Yeah, if it's comfortable for you, you can watch the members there, but they can see you from the camera as well.
Hi, everyone.
So if you have a presentation or if you have something to say, you can go ahead. Otherwise, the panel may ask you some questions.
Actually, firstly, you can see in the video, she agreed, she was a 20-year-old, and that time I had a provisional license, and I was registered at the training. You can check with the school at 470 Hamilton Avenue. So I just took up one class that time, and I did not know about the rules and regulations about that time. And the moreover, like I am not a danger for a public one, because in the video, I never force at a single time to run. So that's all from my point of view. Yes, I was apologize because I was on a job and it was wrong for me. So that's all.
Ms. Delora or Ms. Kozak, either of you have any questions?
With respect to, can you tell me about your classes? Had you done any of the classes that are prerequisites for? You said you've been driving about a month. What type?
For 20 to 25 days, and that time I was registered at the training course, and I took only one class maybe that time. You can check with that school if you want. If you want to confirm from them.
So only one class. What do you say?
Yeah, only one class.
And since the incident, have you done anything to sort of educate yourself or learn about the bylaw and what is sort of appropriate or inappropriate conduct?
No.
I think the answer was no.
No. I have nothing further to add.
Okay. Ms. Kozak, any questions?
What do you believe the purpose of the camera is in the taxi cab at the time of the incident?
Sorry?
So you understand that there's a camera in the taxi while you're driving and while you're providing services to clients. What do you believe that purpose of the camera is?
To secure and record everything.
So at the time of the incident, why did you feel the need to cover the camera?
For just my privacy to leak any video.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have no questions for Mr. Singh.
So at this time, if the public service would like to add any rebuttal or additional information, now would be the time, or if the panel has questions for the public service.
Sure. I just want to comment that not taking the taxi driver training classes and conduct is covered in them, but not. I find it hard to believe that knowing this type of behavior would be acceptable is a bit of a stretch.
Unacceptable would be a bit of a stretch. Drivers are in a position to often deal with vulnerable people, and they're vulnerable for a variety of reasons. That's the reason we expect them to act accordingly and with a high level of professionalism and decorum, and ensuring that passengers are given a safe trip from their destination or to their destination. Specifically, we have driver conduct covered under the bylaw. It was added in 2020, I believe, a specific section to lay out minimum rules. So that's section 46.3. Just on the camera point, I recognize that you asked the question, Ms. Kozak, but there is signage posted in the taxis to the effect that the happenings are being recorded. They are recorded with audio and video, and there is no reasonable expectation of privacy inside a taxi. It's for the safety of passengers and drivers. That's also a reason we have a tampering clause in the bylaw to ensure that consistent recording occurs. But that would be all I would have unless you have further questions.
Can I speak?
You will be given an opportunity for rebuttal, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Heather. Anything further, Mr. Singh?
Like anyone make a mistake. So for this mistake, I am punishing from February 1st because firstly, I lose my job and I was stressed that time. So like I am punishing from this mistake from February 1st. So I am just requesting, give me a one chance because I had a provisional license and I did not know about the rule and regulation.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. I think we need a motion then to close public presentations.
That's correct.
Just somebody put their hand up. Yeah.
I move to.
Deloro moves. Ms. Kozak, you second?
I'll second.
Okay. And all in favor? Okay, so public representations are closed. So what is the next step, Mr. Prinsloo?
If it is the will of the board, you have the opportunity to enter private deliberations where the board can discuss what has been presented and come up with a verdict. Or if you would like, we can go straight to the verdict if you so wish.
I think we'd like to have a private conversation.
Perfect. So I'll just need somebody to move a motion that we enter private deliberations.
Ms. Kozak,
I'll move that we enter private deliberations.
And I second.
all in favor?
Perfect. All right, so if I can just ask everybody in the room to please go into the mayor's foyer. The board will now go ahead, discuss amongst themselves what has been presented to them. And then once they're ready, I'll invite everybody back and then the board will let you know what their decision is. Thank you. Now live.
Yeah, the panel has deliberated and is prepared to give its decision. The panel finds that the conduct of Mr. Singh, as described in Exhibit 4, the investigation report, and in Exhibit 1, the letter from the designated employee to Mr. Singh dated April 18th, 2024, and as depicted in the onboard video, was inappropriate and unbecoming a service provider in the vehicle for hire industry. Mr. Singh admitted the conduct at the initial hearing on March 7th, 2024, but since that time has steadfastly maintained that he did nothing wrong. This lack of insight on his part is, to say the least, disturbing. The panel finds that the decision of the designated employee dated April 18th, 2024 imposes penalties and conditions on reinstatement which are fair and reasonable in the circumstances. The appeal is dismissed. And I will ask for a motion that the appeal be denied and the decision of the designated employee dated April 18th, 2024 be confirmed.
I move that the appeal be denied and that the decision of the manager of vehicles for hire, Winnipeg Public Authority, be confirmed.
And Ms. Kozak, you second that motion?
I'll second.
All in favor? Motion is passed. We now need a motion to close the hearing.
That's correct.
Ms. Kozak, yeah, so Ms. Kozak moves that the hearing be concluded, and Ms. DeLauro seconds the motion. All in favor? Motion is passed. We are concluded.
Perfect. Please note that the Vehicles for Hire Appeal Board has denied your appeal as per section 68.4 of the Vehicles for Hire bylaw number 129 of 2017. Decisions by this board is final and no appeal may be taken in respect of the decision. So final order of business is just a motion to adjourn this meeting, and that will be all for today.
Ms. Kozak moves, Ms. DeLauro seconds. All in favor? We're adjourned.
All right. Thank you very much. And until next time. Thank you.